being a UI designer or improving in UI skills doesn't mean you'll become good in typography, iconography, colors, and all this. This is bullshit. UI is not just about selecting the right colors, selecting the right fonts, or UI is not simply about being able to do some visual stuff. If you are a UX designer building your UI and all, hardly when you're working in a company, you will hardly actually select a font, change a color, or anything because you already have existing systems in place. You will have to learn about designing for all the interactions which come under UI design, be it visuals or be it touches or speaking or hearing or whatever. Multiple interactions which users have with an interface all have to be designed for. Consistently using a system which actually works for people, which has all the interactions captured, both visual and non-visual interactions, all of them captured in a systematic manner. That is what is making the UI look good. Not your ability to go and like. So in your question, there's also thing on should I focus on UI or just focus on UX? Okay.
Yeah.
There is no way you can call yourself a UX designer without doing UI. In the whole example I've presented right now,
Yes.
you say I'll only do some research and talk about some of those points. There is no way you can call yourself a UX designer because the stronghold we have is prototyping and going and testing with users and bringing the prototypes. This is our stronghold. To support that, you come with better research. To support that, you come with other usability insights. But there is no way you can remove UI out of it and call yourself a UX designer, right? It's a very popular misconception across the industry that, oh, this is UX, this is UI, right? I'm very good in UX part. There was actually one student who messaged me this also. Hey, Anudeep, I'm very good in UX part, but UI part, I'm a little weak. Like your question itself is wrong, right? You're weak in UI part means you're obviously weak in UX, I mean, according to your statement. Okay. So people think this is UI and whatever is not UI is UX. This is how the industry has given the names for these things, unfortunately, very unfortunately, right? No, right? UI, as the most simple form, you can say UI is a part of UX. You're a UX designer. That's why never have you ever heard me saying UI UX designer. Never. I only say UX designer. That's because UI is a part of UX. I build my own UI. Like obviously I can't share, but I build the screens, right? I build the screens. I do my own research. I build my own screens. I go and talk to the users, get tested, and all these. Test with the users and bring back those insights. I do it. I build UI even today. I know I know 20 years experience UX designers getting very, very hefty salaries as well. They do their own UI still. There is no way. There's a big misconception there also. Oh, UI designers, lowly UI designers. I'm a UX designer. I'm like, I do all this. I made a reel on this also. You should probably go and see that, right? You're a UI designer. Oh, I'm a UX designer. I do personas, this, that. It's a big misconception, right? No, there's nothing low, that nothing high over there. All of these things need to be done as a UX designer, right? So be very clear on this. So any one of you here, there is no way you guys take UI skills for a toss. No, you can't say that, hey, Anudeep, UI and all I'll do, man, but all these other things I'm very interested in. No, you have to be good in UI. So then what do you do? How do you become good in UI? A lot of people are also talking about this. That's why I'm talking about this as well. So what do you do? How do you improve your UI skills? First of all, first and foremost, all of you, I'm telling you, being a UI designer or improving in UI skills doesn't mean you'll become good in typography, iconography, colors, and all these things. This is bullshit. It's the biggest bullshit. A lot of programs, a lot of people, a lot of Instagrammers, all these people are trying to sell to you, right? This is big bullshit. UI is not just about selecting the right colors, selecting the right fonts, right? Or UI is not simply about being able to do some visual stuff, because visual design, right, is only one part of the interactions which a UI is able to know. User interface design. User is using an interface. You're designing for this interface. this interface talks to the user through multiple interactions, right? The user is interacting with this interface. How? Only by seeing? No, right? By seeing, by touching, by hearing, by talking, multiple things are happening through which a user is able to interact with this interface. Correct? As a UI designer, you must make sure all the interactions are designed for, not just the visual part of it only. And ironically, if you are a UX designer building your UI and all, hardly when you're working in a company, you will hardly actually select a font, change a color, or anything. You'll not even build building because you already have existing systems in place. You have a button which is there as a component. You have those colors. You'll have to use only those colors. You have the text predefined. Everything is predefined. So hardly a lot of people actually work on building, selecting very good colors or very good fonts or all these things. So therefore, that's why the program also focuses a lot on building systems and understanding how to build something with existing systems and all these things, because this is what actual UI designers or UI design part of UX designers actually do and get valued from. So this is very, very important, guys. I'm not saying visual skills should be thrown away. It's not like, I'm not saying that. But what the internet is talking about being a UI designer, UI is all about how it looks. All this is bullshit. That is what is crap, what I'm telling you. It is important. It has to look good. Aesthetic and minimal design is one of the heuristics. So it should look aesthetically good. There is no doubt. But that's not the only job of a UX designer or a UI designer. That is very important to understand. Okay. So, so the last thing I can tell you is actionable item, because this a lot of people are also asking, how do I improve my UI skills as a UX designer, right? How do I do that? So do these things, guys. The first and foremost thing of learning UI more than anything else is going and observing existing user interfaces. It's very, very important. Okay. Very, very important. And as I told again, user interface design is not limited to just the visual parts of it. You will have to learn about designing for all the interactions which come under UI design, right? Be it visuals or be it touches or speaking or hearing or whatever, multiple interactions which users have with an interface all have to be designed for. That's very important. So how do you do this? So the first thing is go make a repository of multiple experiences. Let's see, you can start with apps. Okay. So take multiple screenshots or multiple things from apps. Write down what are all the things which have been designed for just related to the user interface, which means is all what you can do is UI, let's say the structural part of it is always built with UI elements. Okay. For example, so this is Myntra screen, right? So what I was telling, so first what you will do is obviously go and look at multiple screens. So let's say you're in this screen, okay? Giving some example, let's say you're in the screen. What you do is you go and observe all the interactions which are there in this screen, okay? All the interactions and all the design elements, UI design elements which are present on the screen. For example, what are the, let us see. So what do I mean by UI design elements? I'll tell you that and then talk about the interactions. Okay. So a quick idea about UI design elements we'll get if you go and check material design, right? Is one design system, but it will probably give you a lot of idea about a lot of components. Okay. So for example, there are buttons over here, right? In this material design system, there are buttons over here. Just for a button, they have this much documentation about, you know, what kind of buttons are these, how to use, what are the multiple states and all these things. You'll be able to learn, right? What are the best practices and all these things are there in each of these things. Okay. So let's say, for example, one more thing is menu over here. Okay. I'll give you an example from material 2 because this is one thing which I've been very used to. Okay, so what you can do is first study about multiple design elements from these design systems. Okay, material 1 or 2 or all these things. Then what happens is, when you study about these things, you'll also be able to see that there are multiple states. Okay, there are multiple interactions and multiple states which are associated with each of these design elements, right? So let us say there is this menu state, there is this inactive state, this activated state, this is populated active state, this is hover state for desktop, right? This is focus state for mobile, right? This is a disabled state, this is a populated disabled state, right? So the same element is having multiple states actually, right? So what you have to do is you will have to go and observe in an existing UI, what are the multiple design elements, UI design elements which are present over here. Let's say this is like a top menu. Okay. I mean, I don't know exactly what it probably can be called, but a top menu bar, right? This, let's say there are images, there are set of images which can be scrolled, right? This is an image carousel. Okay, probably not obviously get answers to everything right when you get started. You'll not be able to know what this is called, but that is where you start. You'll say, you'll go and ask a friend, you'll ask your mentor, which is me right now, right? So you'll ask these people, hey, what is this called as? What design element does it go to, right? Or you'll go and search on Google and all these things, and you'll look at multiple design systems, and you'll see if there are existing elements which are matching those things, right? Here, there is this button, right? There is a button over here. There is an activated button or whatever. There is a primary button and there is a secondary button, okay? Which is also called as, in this, with respect to this particular page, it is the call to action. Therefore, it's also called as a CTA. There's a primary CTA, because there's a secondary action which you can do on the page called as a secondary CTA, right? So what you do is you will learn about multiple design elements, and in a page, you will first make a list of all the multiple design elements which can be identified out of a structure over there. Because a UI is built using UI design elements. Got it? Fine. Once this funda is clear, okay, the next thing is the interactions as well, right? You'll be like, okay, how do I interact with, for visual interactions, very clear. You are able to, just in visual level, you'll be like, okay, how do I read this price? I am first reading this price because this is bold. And then I'm reading this heading because this is not really bold, but it's sitting on top over here, right? Your assumptions about how you're actually scanning multiple texts over here, visual interactions, or how multiple pieces of information are separated over here. These are all into different sections because they are giving different kinds of information. This is an image section. This is like delivery section. This is like pricing section. There's like size selection section, product details section, right? So in this way, you're seeing how information is organized on the page. Let us say coming to visual interaction. Multiple other interactions, let's say if you have to swipe, okay? So what is the type of interaction here? You have to swipe to actually go to the other elements in the carousel over here, okay? If you have to check the pin code, there is a form interaction which is happening over here. I can probably go and enter and see. When I click on this check, what's happening is there was a loader, that the card actually expanded and 3 other things actually came over here. That's an interaction which happened when you actually clicked on this check. You note down about all these things, right? So probably there is, here it's not there, but in some places you also find some drop downs, right? Probably let's say, view products, it just went to another page, okay? But there are also some interactions where there's some drop downs, or sometimes you select some filter and let's say this filter is there. You select some filter and all these things, and they're not showing here, but you'll see something called as chips, filters which are applied on the top. You can scroll them and you can select them, deselect them, and change your filtering and all these things, right? So in this manner, what you will do is first you'll observe all the UI design elements which are present over there, try and label them, and write down about all the interactions which are observing over there, right? And if you want to go more granular about each element, you can also go and write down what are the states they have. Let us say there is a drop down. You can also write that when I'm pressing on them, these are the multiple states which are being exhibited over here and all these things, right? So once you do this, what will happen is, do this with multiple products, multiple screenshots, probably take one a day and keep doing this. Once you do this, the first layer of you studying existing interfaces will drastically help you, because a lot of people are very enthusiastic to go and build user interfaces. But before all that, the thing which will actually help you a lot is studying existing interfaces. Okay. First step or first section of the steps, studying. And I've also told you how to study as well. Okay, clear? Then what you do is you take this thing, you take this screen. Okay, take this screen or a few set of screens which are related to each other. Then comes the second part, which is going and building the same screen and set of screens, replicating exactly the same screen, the visual interactions, the what do you say, the touch interactions, the sound interactions, any other interactions. You replicate the same thing in your design file. Replicate as it is. Okay, which is very important. Replicating as it is very important. Why? Because doing it as it is, replicating each and everything will teach you attention to detail. Attention to detail is very, 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 very important skill as a UX designer. Okay, every small element, every small interaction is very, very important. Why? Because let us say you have a drop down and you have not designed for the selected state of the drop down or disabled state of the drop down. What will happen tomorrow when a use comes where in that product, let's say the drop down is not valid for certain pin code or whatever, because you have not given that design, probably the developer also not build it and user will face a problem over there. Therefore, attention to detail is very, very, very important, right? So you will go and make a copy of each and every visual and interaction which is sitting over there. Okay. Initially, when you try and replicate, let us say you are replicating that play button over here. Okay. So initially, what will you do? You will probably go and draw a rectangle over there, right? And give a text. You will observe what is the text size over here. What's the text color I have to give on all these things, right? So using that, we'll probably insert an icon over here and build all these things. That's the first thing what will happen, right? All of you following me? When you try to replicate everything on the screen, what will happen is this. You will custom build all the components which are there present on a screen. Okay. That is the first stage of how you will go and do replication activities. The second stage is, what did I tell you when you do in the observation stage? You're noting down all the design elements and that means UI design elements and the interactions, associated interactions. So what you do is you take a popular design system, most probably take material design system, and try and replicate this screen with an existing design system. Use the button component from material design. Instead of making button from replicating the exact button, what you'll do is you'll use the button component from material design system and apply all the customizations which are required on this screen. You get this point, everyone? Okay. So let's say there is text. Use the text which are defined as text styles in the system. Use the icons which are defined as the icons in the system. Spacings, right? Let's say there is space between these two. I already in the tutorial here, which I've given, I already speak about 8-point grid system and all these things. But if you see material design system, they also have details about how items should be spaced following a 4-point and 8-point grid system, right? Spacing system. It's not a grid system, it's a spacing system. So what are all the allowed distances which can be there between the probably heading and sections, between multiple cards, right? Usually multiples of 8, but what are allowed? Like distance between multiple sections should, let us say, it should be 32. It should always be 32. So you observe all these things, and using a system, you'll replicate the same screen. Your screen will not exactly look the same, obviously, because this original screen might have been designed with their existing system, which you don't have access to. But since you have another system, it will almost look the same. But by the end of it, you would have learned how to design a screen with an existing system. You get this, guys? And this, my friends, will drastically improve your UI design skills. You do this, you start with every day, you take one screen, you do the observation part, you are writing down everything about all the interactions and all these things. You're writing down about them. And then probably the next day, go and replicate it. Initially, you will do replication by doing all the, you'll be creating the buttons yourself, icons will be pulling, you'll be writing those text, changing those fonts. And the next stage is you will be building this whole thing using an existing system, probably like a material design system. That's it. Keep doing this probably for a month or so. Some 20 to 30 things you do it. Graduate from doing single screens to, let us say, a set of flows, right? Let us say selecting, probably what happens on clicking this play button. Probably there's one more screen where there is, you can, the show kind of screen happens over there. There's one more button for you to play the actual thing or watch the trailer or something, right? After going there, you can also pause the video, you can change the brightness or whatever. So there's a set of screens in the flow, right? You will build this entire set of screens, right? Using an existing system and customizing that system. Do this, guys. 100%, 200%, 1000%, your UI skills will improve and you will be very well fit for working as UX designers in companies. I'm telling you. Golden stuff, guys. This is golden stuff. It requires commitment. It requires practice. It is there. It is there in one of our assignments, the UI design and component assignment, which I ask people to do while they're doing their mini project. It is there actually. Okay, this assignment is there, but I'm just talking about this so that all of you also feel motivated to understand that, hey, you know what, how to actually practice UI, right? But there's one thing, please remember, guys. Becoming a good UI designer doesn't mean that you should be like the greatest artist of all time, right? Those stunning Instagram screens or those stunning dribblish screens, if I'm able to make, I can become a good UI designer. No. You understand proper things about usability. You understand detail about every UI design element. How does it help the users? Where it should be used within the architecture of solving a problem for a screen. And understand how is it that you can follow a system which is consistent, which has consistent color usage, font usage, spacing usage. If you learn about all these things, your UI will look good. 100% it will look good. If you go and observe any of those good looking UIs in multiple products, which, let's say Myntra has a very good UI, right? If you go and observe, the magic is simple. They have consistent spacings, they have consistent font usage, they have consistent color usage, consistent iconography. All these things are very consistent. Consistently using a system which actually works for people, which has all the interactions captured, both visual and non-visual interactions, all of them captured in a systematic manner. That is what is making the UI look good. Not your ability to go and like these Instagram shots you will have, right? These reels you'll have. There is some black and white version of it, and suddenly there's a color version of it, and they're drawing the button over there. They're not using a system, but like they're not using a design system button. They're custom making a button, adding some gradients, custom making a font. Never. You usually never do these things. This needs to be very, very clear, right? So I hope this helps all of you become a very good UI designer as well as a part of your journey to be a UX designer. Okay, let's move on. Next one.
I have a question.
Yeah.
You mentioned that you should use the components from material design, which is very fair point. But I remember when I used to learn Figma and I used to do these by myself, when I used to do the donkey work, it actually helped me learn it very well, the Figma interface itself. So yes, I did the donkey work, agreed, but learned a lot. Now when I do the material design, it will help me save time and all that.
Yeah.
So do you think it is important in the start to do the...
Yeah, that's exactly what I told. When you start, that's exactly what I told. Even in the drill exercises, in the first few exercises, one or two, first two videos, I guess, you will actually literally do everything by selecting the font. You'll be changing the color. You will do this donkey work. You'll have to, because you see, even to understand how a system element works, what is it built of, you should be able to build it by yourself first. You should learn by doing that. What I'm trying to tell is
And then
largely you'll be using these systems, and because systems provide consistency and standard as a heuristic, that's why you build systems. They're consistent, and they're consistent with what can be built by the users, and systems already have all the states, all the interactions already built in, right? That is what you will end up doing. That's why. But yes, in even in the whatever question I've answered till now, I said when you start, go and replicate everything by selecting custom fonts, by everything whatever is there. Apply those background colors, create those buttons, create those, not, don't create icons. Icons you can download and use, but create everything, right? Without using a system. Start with that. Then graduate to a stage where you're doing the same thing using a system. That's what you do. Okay. Yes.
Yeah, Anudeep, I have a doubt, Anudeep.
Yeah, go ahead.
So basically, I followed Google Material Design a lot, and a lot of other design systems as well, like Apple's Tailwind and a lot of things. Uh, it's actually good, and it actually improved my design and everything a lot. But as you told, UI design is not only about visual design; it's also about sound engineering and all the things, sound, music, everything which is acceptable things,
Non-visual as well. Yeah,
non-visual as well.
non-interactions as well.
So, where can we learn those? Because I literally found a lot about visual things, but non-visual things. I mean, Discord also, when a notification comes from Discord, it comes with a different sound, right? So those all are makes product more inclusive and
Yeah.
more to use. So where can we actually find resources on those?
We should find, it's not easy to find a UI design course talking about all the multiple different interactions. Actually, I myself have made a outline about this course, but I never got a time to build a course like that.
Okay.
Very difficult. But yes, even I'm struggling to find a good UI course which can talk about learning all these things. But the way I have learned is by the method which I have told you right now.
Okay. Okay.
Let's say you Discord example, right? You have observed that, oh, when a message comes on Discord, oh, this is what they're doing. Like let's say on iPhone, I can just give an example. On iPhone, what happens is to certain taps, your phone vibrates.
Yes, haptic feedback.
Haptics,
Yes.
right? Now that's very interesting the way they have done it. Let's say there's this torch button over here.
Mm. Okay. Okay.
When I tap it, you should do a long tap actually. Okay.
Okay.
The haptic is almost like I am tapping it inside.
Okay.
I don't know how they've done it, but it's little magical. And those small things really give a lot of good experience, right? Now, are there courses or are there some things which can talk about some of these principles in terms of not just the visual part of your design, but non-visual part as well? It's very difficult to find. There should be obviously somewhere in the internet that there are lying. Very difficult to find, but that's a textbook way. The non-textbook way, simple. Observe these things, keep noting those things, noting those things. When the time comes, let's say you are designing for some notification like that, and you're like, hey, you know what? Probably it should also come with this kind of a sound. Probably it should come with this kind of a haptic feedback.
Yeah.
Probably it should come with even these not just sound or haptic feedback, even the other interactions when you touch, right? When you, let's say, swipe. So what happens, let's say, a popular interaction is when you scroll, end of list is signified by bounce.
Okay.
Right? You're scrolling, and how do you know the list has ended? It
get a wave like this. Yes. Yeah.
It bounces, right? Why? I also wondered this previously, then like years back. But then, so what I was trying to do is I was trying to analyze what will happen if this bounce is not there. Why are they giving this?
Okay.
Right. So then what I thought is, how do you differentiate between an end of list versus your UI not responding? You got it?
Okay. Yeah.
Let's say interface is not responding, then also nothing will move, right? If you're doing
Got it.
Right?
Yes. Hold on.
How do you signify that? Sorry, don't worry, bro. It's not your mistake. It's the end of the list, right? And therefore there is a bounce. How did they come up with the bounce? Because it is very natural for us to see something bouncing off or elastically sticking right? When something has ended like that. That's why from match between system and real world has been used to create that concept so that it signifies that it's end of list, so that we are not confused that it is not non-responsive. So just by observing a simple thing as like some bounce, this much we can learn, right?
I mean, recently I'm working on a design experience for my company's one of projects with NFTs.
Yeah.
So not NFTs, sorry, NFCs, near
Okay.
field
Yeah.
tags.
Yeah.
So when I was actually testing with my phone, and the kind of feedback that NFC, if it's a supported NFC, we need to get one sort of vibration. If it's a
Yeah.
non-supported NFC, it should get another sort of vibration. I was actually pretty skeptical about, no, should we do an haptic feedback, or should we directly go and do with sound? Like if it's a proper, connected sound,
Got it.
I mean, a positive sound. If it's not
Yeah.
not a proper connected sound, it's like a thing, or a wrong sound. So I'm really hard for me to understand. Should I go with the haptics? Should I go with sound? Should I go with just visual? So yeah, kind of bit in the trap right now. So that's
Correct.
the reason I asked this question. Yeah.
Yes. I totally get it. I mean, it's very difficult to get material on this.
Yes.
But the other thing is, what you can do is that's why the UX design process or the design thinking process has the other best part, that is go and experiment and prototype and test it with users. If it's working, it is working. It's not working, it's not working.
That's what we thought. A/B tested. Let's do one A/B test with sound. Let's do one A/B test with
Yeah.
haptics.
If you already have existing resource that, oh, you know what, this is how you can do a haptic for a positive communication versus a negative communication, this is how you do it. If you don't have it, probably do it based on what your, as they call it, right brain, right? This is actually a right brain skill. I'll tell you why. Because there's also something called as right brain education, though the concept of right and left brains is not really correct, but the part of your brain trying to so this question exists, right? Let us say the person who created this bounce effect, right? How did they get that idea of the bounce? They would have probably remembered some random thing in their life where they were like, an elastic was trying to pull and then it bounces back. Okay. That came into the mind of the person when he was creating that. The person was creating that bounce effect, right? So what right brain education says is, I'm also training my son also in right brain education. So what they do is they expose you to a lot of things, random things, a lot of things. So it basically goes against logic, actually. We have a logical brain, then there is this other right brain, whatever it is called. So what happens is you're just exposed to a lot of things. They keep going into your brain. They keep sitting in your memory, right? Let's say you're up. So the first part of the exercise, which I told you, keep observing. That's what I'm asking you to do, actually, right? You're observing every screen you do, every interaction you're observing, and just keep going in. When you're trying to solve a problem, your brain does this magic. What it does is, when you want this problem to be solved, suddenly it'll give you that inspiration from some random observation you did. You won't even remember where you actually saw that, but that idea will come to you.
Right.
That's what your brain will do, right? So that is what, based on that right brain skills, is what I've made this exercise of understanding and building you. The same thing works for UX design. What I'm trying to say is coming up with ideas as well, right? The ideation part of UX design as well. The same thing happens, not just these interactions. Right brain works in that manner. You keep observing, you keep asking questions of why is it done this way? Why is it done that way? Why not this way? And all these things. Those random thoughts, those answers which you get over there, like what you have done in the workshop, will help you at these random times to do better in the ideation stage. In fact, that's the answer for a lot of people asking me questions. Hey, I'm stuck with ideas. I'm not getting good ideas and all these things. So what you do to improve your ideation, go and do these random things. Ask hundreds of questions about existing products and existing things. Try and answer those questions yourself. Discuss about those answers, probable answers about it. It doesn't have to matter whether it is right or wrong, right? It doesn't matter. Probably I'm wrong about how that person who created that bounce effect, whether they have seen that rubber band or not, I don't know about it. But the thought is actually helping me get better inspiration when I do something like tomorrow. That is enough, right?
And right now we can see end of the list is for a lot of popular apps is actually ending by a message like, live your life, something like that. I mean, I've seen a lot of apps. They did this
Sorry?
bounce effect, and but I mean, right
Yes.
now I'm seeing a lot of apps. They did the bounce effect, and when you scroll down completely,
Yeah.
they're ending
So
with a big
an
message
interesting
with
thing
another
what
color or
Android did
something like
is,
that. Material
so
3.
I observed this around 4 years back. An interesting thing what Android did is, so one way to do it is bounce the list. The other way to do it is pseudo bounce. So what they did is the list will stop, but there is a kind of a light
A
or a
blue
light.
wave.
Overlayish kind of
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So that
yeah,
bounces, giving you an
yeah.
effect that it is end of the list. So amazing things. A lot of these people have tried it. Basically, if you work in these OS team and all these things, you'll get to. There's all the advanced stuff, like teams, right?
Got it,
So,
got it.
but yeah, observation really, 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 really helps us a lot and learn these things. Okay.
Understood. Yeah, thank you so much.
Awesome, awesome, man.